Hey guys, what's up? It's Finchinator. We're back for another video on the Zamazenta-Crowned test in the SSOU metagame. Today I've constructed two teams that I quite like with Zamazenta-Crowned, featuring different strategies that I've heard people discuss with it, and also some of my personal ideas as well. We're going to go over both of these teams, and I'm also going to leave the teams in the description down below. I'll also be posting about them on the forums once the suspect thread is unlocked as well, so you may see these teams in your ladder battles, you might use these teams, or other people might use them, but regardless of that, I just want to say that I think Zamazenta-Crowned is off to a pretty decent but not amazing start. I find it to be a strong offensive presence and very bulky defensively, which gives it lots of setup opportunities, but admittedly thus far, I haven't found it to be anything overwhelming offensively. In fact, in many games I've found it basically trading with Pokemon and being a good sort of glue presence, almost like Melmetal, but perhaps a little bit better. But definitely nothing overbearing or overempowering quite yet. But also, this is so early in the game, we realize that the combinations with it, the strategies with it are yet to be fully developed, and seeing things like it with the support of Misty Terrain and Trick on Tapu Fini, spoiler alert, or Future Sight and Wish plus Teleport, can potentially open up doors for it. So we're going to try and give it the optimal supporting cast and optimal teammate in order to maximize the effectiveness of Zamazenta-Crowned. I built two teams in particular here, one of them which is a very offensive team and one of them that's more of a balanced team. I know you guys want to see the offense, I know you guys want to see the sauce, and don't worry, I'm going to spill the sauce right now. We got Zamazenta-Crowned offense. We're going to be using a set that has Howl, dual stabs with close combat and Behemoth Blast, as well as Wild Charge. Just to go over Zamazenta-Crowned for you guys a little bit again, in case you guys didn't watch my video earlier today introducing the suspect test, it is the most recent drop into the SSU tier. While it's not officially OU, it is OU via test, meaning that if it receives over 50 plus 1% of the vote to leave it in the OU tier, it will officially be OU. Until then, it's just like another suspect, basically, but it's gone the other way around, if you will. Regardless of that fact, Zamazenta-Crowned has really good stats that stand out, make it the clear fish out of water in the OU metagame. I don't doubt that. Nobody is refuting that. The fact of the matter is that 130 attack with 128 speed is outstanding, and that's not even the tip of the iceberg, given that it has 145 in both defensive stats and the ability to boost its defense by 1. It is a mammoth on the defensive end. However, this all comes at the cost of an item slot, meaning it can't hold any boosting items. All of a sudden, that 130 attack is looking a lot less impressive, only getting 359. I know I say only, but let's say you factor in a Life Orb or a Choice Band on other Pokemon that have similar attack, all of a sudden they're like in the 500s or 400s, while you're down below. So you gotta rely on the base power of your moves a lot. In close combat, it's a great stab move, a little trick there. Behemoth Blast, you guys don't know, is a 100 base power physical steel move. It's going to take advantage of Dynamax, but there's no Dynamax here, but it still does the trick here. And last, but certainly not least, is Wild Charge. Now, the thing about Wild Charge is it actually deals quite a bit of recoil. If I were to do 100 damage, I take 25 damage in recoil. And that, coupled with the prominence of things like Rocky Helmet and opposing walls like Slowbro and Toxic's having Regenerator, make it so that a Wild Charge, which can hit them super effectively but can't to a kill either outright, is actually going to be doing more than it might be, doing more to you than it might be to the opponent once they regenerate out. So you got to hopefully bolster your attack with Howl. Howl goes a long way. Unfortunately, there's no Swords Dance, no moves that don't do recoil damage. So the move pool is definitely a limiting factor for Zamazenta-Crowned, coupled with the fact that it lacks an item. So there are definitely some limiting factors, and you kind of start to see the cracks in it. Like, okay, this Pokemon that's like box level good, with 700 some odd base stats and absurd offensive and defensive presence, actually is quite limited in what it can do. And that, coupled with massive support in the surveys and from the council and in the threads and whatnot, led to us unbanning it for this test for the time being. Obviously, there's a bit of an asterisk next to it, but yeah. So here was my first attempt at team building with it. I'm going to go ahead and say, again, the team link is down below in the description, but if you guys want to see the process I went through by building it, I'll explain all of the EVs, all of the movesets, and more, then you are glad to stay. I would appreciate anyone watching this video fully through. Of course, if you don't want to, I understand we all have busy days and we want to just button mash with our Zamazenta-Crowned. That is fair as well. The teams are down below for y'all. Anyway, for those of you that are still watching this, thank you guys again for all the support. Let's get on into the team building. So the idea was to use this Zamazenta-Crowned set, which I'm thinking it's going to be standard, although you could argue Ice Fang over Behemoth Blast or Ice Fang over Howl is fine too. Personally, I think Ice Fang over Behemoth Blast is really good on teams that don't mind Clefable. However, this team doesn't really love Combine Clefable, in particular because it oftentimes gets into like a crit war with Volcarona. It can definitely make it so the Dragonite's going to struggle, and even Zero Aura, Landorus T, Tapu Fini can do pretty well against as well. So not the easiest Pokemon to face, and that coupled with the fact that I actually had a team that did pretty well against opposing Landorus T. I have a Rocky Helmet Landorus T of my own with knockoff. I have a knockoff Zero Aura to chip that down, and I also have Dragonite, Dragonite, and Misty Train support. So I felt as if I was pretty well off against Landorus T, taking advantage of it, whittling it down with ease, and honestly, even without Ice Fang, you could do a nice 30% with -1 Behemoth Blast to it, get rocks up. That alone is coming at 3k all of a sudden. That can go a long way for you. So yeah, Wild Charge, again, is there for hitting things like Slowbro and Toxapex. It's not the best coverage, but little trick. In close combat, obviously, powerful stab. So yeah, pretty good Zamazenta-Crowned, but what am I going to use to help maximize its potential? Well, we notice Pokemon like Toxapex and Slowbro, or even Slowking potentially, can be problematic to you, not to mention other potential walls as well. Well, a lot of those walls are actually lured on by Tapu Fini beat, because Tapu Fini gives them a free regenerator, or Tapu Fini lets them position the game in a certain fashion that would be optimized for it. But what if we give Tapu Fini Choice Scarf and Trick? Not only does this give you Misty Transport, which means you can't get burnt by Scald, or paralyzed by Thunderwave, or Thunder from Clefable, for example, but on top of that, Trick into things like Toxapex or Slowbro/Slowking can go such a long way towards opening the game up for Zamazenta-Crowned and fellow teammates as well. For example, if you get a Trick on a Blissey, then all of a sudden Volcarona looks very menacing as well. You also have the combination of Hydro Pump and Moonblast to deal out damage. These special attack EVs assure that Moonblast is always going to be 4 KOing even slightly HP invested Zamazenta-Crowned, and Hydro Pump has a very good chance of 3 KO, always 3 KOing after Stealth Rocks. In addition to that, while Tapu Fini is a pretty weak Pokemon, as you see here, it's only based at 95 special attack, which is quite underwhelming in OU metagame. We still able to invest in it enough to where it's going to be doing decent damage, as we said before. Speed-wise, you actually don't need max speed. With this speed, you're able to outrun things like Zero Aura, Dragapult, Tapu Koko, opposing Zamazenta-Crowned, so it's good to get the jump on all those Pokemon. But in addition to this, you're also, if Trick, still outrun Modest Kyurem, Modest Tapu Lele, and other Pokemon as well, such as Adamant Landorus T and Adamant Extra. So that's going to come in handy there. 290 is just that right above the neutral base 95 number. So yeah, while admittedly, if you were to go max speed, you would also get the jump on Adamant Urshifu Rapid. On a team with Dragonite, I actually felt that to be right unnecessary. If you want, you can just max out speed and take the remainder out of special attack. You still get the good, you still always 4 KO Zamazenta-Crowned with Moonblast, but that's up to you. The extra bulk is going to help with a couple things. First and foremost, this team has no Ghost Resist, so therefore being able to tank hits from Hexarance to Dragapult in particular is very helpful here. But also, you can bait Draco Meteors with other Pokemon on your team, or Dragon Darts with other Pokemon on your team, like Volcarona and Dragonite. Go to Tapu Fini, and if you get the prediction wrong, they go for Shadow Ball or Hex, then you're not going to die super quickly. In addition, this HP investment lets you take a couple of things like Earthquake from uninvested Landorus T a lot easier. And finally, Zamazenta-Crowned's Wild Charge, even if Adamant after Stealth Rock, he's never ever going to kill. In fact, after 2 Stealth Rocks, I believe it wouldn't kill either. That's not really a calc that this was EV'd for specifically, but it's always worth mentioning it because we're going to see a lot of Zamazenta-Crowned in this metagame. So yeah, this was the EV spread that I like to use instead. I like using Tapu Fini. It was a great revenge killer / glue Pokemon, and even if you trick it off here, you've got 2 other very fast Pokemon as well to compensate. So I quite liked how Tapu Fini found its way onto this team, and I definitely think it will serve a nice role here, with the Misty Transport in particular. Next up, we have Landorus T. While this team plays arguably kind of like a hyper offense, I actually don't want to go with like a lead Landorus T here. Quite on the contrary, I want to go with a bulkier pivot Landorus T. While, of course, Explosion on lead Landorus T can function as a pivot in a sense that you do die, but all of a sudden you get something in for free with Chip, which is very helpful. I actually quite like this set on this team. It gives you more durability against opposing Zamazenta-Crowned, even being able to Jolly Ice Spring from full health despite the 4x super effectiveness, thanks to Intimidate and the massive bulk investment. This investment in particular makes it so that after Stealth Rock, you're going to be living a Behemoth Blast after a Howl, I believe, as well, which can come in handy. Actually, it might not be with Stealth Rock. It might be with Stealth Rock if Jolly or not with Adamant. But also in 24 attack, it helps it so that you have a great roll of 2 KOing. Even a bulk invested Zamazenta-Crowned for Stealth Rock, especially thanks to Rocky Helmet. which can come in handy here. I like it over Leftovers due to the team being more offensive and aggressive. Forcing chip on things can lead to unexpected win paths, and you never know, so might as well. I didn't feel Leftovers was necessary. Finally, Knockoff over Toxic. I was considering Toxic or something to potentially deter opposing Dragon Dance Dragonite, as it's pretty threatening to this team once Tapu Fini takes any and all chip. However, ultimately I went with Knockout just because having another Knockoff user can come in handy against things like Tornadus T, Rocky Helmet users as well. So that'll help open the door for our boys Dragonite and Zamazenta-Crowned. Speaking of our boy Dragonite, it is next on the squad here. Yeah. So with regards to Dragonite, there's a Pokemon that I really like in the metagame right now. In fact, I think it's super underrated with the Dragon Dance set. I find it harder to use perhaps because you want to get so much out of it. For example, you want it to be used to check things like Heatran, right? But if Heatran Toxic it's just annoying, so you want Heal Bell, but then you're like, oh, wait, I want Earthquake to hit things like Tyranitar, and that was Zamazenta-Crowned and Bisharp and whatnot. But then you also want like Ice Beam or an Ice Punch to hit Landorus T, and it's just like you don't want to get toxic by that either, and so on and so forth. And you want to do a million things with Pokemon that, truth be told, can only run one item, Heavy Duty Boots, and 4 moves, which really should be Dragon Dance, Dual Wing Beat, Roost +1. And on this team in particular, that fit especially because it's a more offensive team. You want a more direct set. Well, admittedly, this set's going to struggle against Skarmory and even Iron Defense or Bulk Up Corviknight as well. You do have Defog on Tapu Fini to deter spikes and Trick to cripple things as well as other teammates for those matchups, which I think is a pretty good design for this team. But this set, with this investment, you're always able to 2-KO Zamazenta-Crowned after Stealth Rock with Earthquake at +1. And of course, you outrun it at +1 as well. The extra HP helps so that you're able to tank consistent hits from Rillaboom, Volcarona, and Kartana, which can come in handy as well. Overall, Earthquake is really clutch here in the Zamazenta-Crowned metagame. It also is able to Tyranitar, which Volcarona is going to struggle against, so that's worth noting too. And finally, it makes it much less useless against Toxapex, especially Rocky Helmet variants, therefore making the team even more well-rounded. Let's say you get to trick off with Finny against the Pex team, but it's not against Toxapex, it's against a Blissey or a Grass type or whatever it may be. A less ideal target, that is still fine. You have outs to kill it, and no one should be worried on that front. Speaking of worries, everyone should be worried about Quiver Dance Volcarona, which happens to be the next member of the team. In fact, not only is this Volcarona in its zone, dancing its way through the SSU metagame, but it's also a premier Zamazenta-Crowned check. With this investment, or even less physical defense investment for that matter, in fact, you hardly need any, you're able to check even Adamant Zamazenta-Crowned, living a combination of unboosted attacks or easily one boosted attack as well. And with only 4 special attack EVs, Fiery Dance is always able to 2-KO 4 special defense Zamazenta-Crowned, even if it doesn't get the rise. And of course, after a Quiver Dance, you're 2-KOing with ease, even having a chance to one-shot after just minimal chip. Something like, say, a couple hundred Rocky Helmet from Landorus T or a Moonblast from Tapu Fini or whatever it may be. And those scenarios seem particularly likely to me. Moreover, the speed on this, 297, makes it so that you're going to be able to outrun Adamant or Shifu Rapid, which, okay, I wanted to have one thing because this is Psychic Volk and it may be seen as Safeguard Volk or some bulkier Volk on this team, so you never know. But also, that speed is great because you get to outrun things like Tapu Fini, Nidoking, Rillaboom all the time. So that's great, but also with Quiver Dance, you're still able to outrun things like Zamazenta-Crowned, Zeraora, Dragapult, Tapu Koko, etc., which can go a long way towards solidifying your sweep with Volcarona. Of course, Psychic is there for things like Toxapex, but also gives nice neutral coverage on Pokemon that resist fire, besides Heatran, although Heatran is running Flame Body more than Flash Fire nowadays, which means that Fire Dance is going to do a number to that as well. Yeah, so just don't run a Tyranitar in this set, or Dragonite, and this set's going to go off, basically. That's what I'm trying to say. Anyway, next up, we have the last member of the team, the electric monkey or cat or dog, or you know what? Comment question. What animal do you believe Zeraora resembles? Not the right answer, not what it actually is, because that is like stated in Bulbapedia or whatever it may be, but rather what do you think Zeraora resembles? Let me know in great level of detail down in the comment section below. Anyway, Zeraora is the 6th and final member of this team, and it's actually using a bulk up set rather than the standard pivot set. I felt that this team is more meant for minimal switching and more exercising positional advantages in the right sequencing, if you will. So for example, let's say I face a Landorus T, but my own Landorus T gets a knockoff on it, and either Dragonair jumps into Crown, trade status, or a big hit for doing boosted damage to it. All of a sudden, with that out of the way, or severely weakened, Bulk Up Zero Aura can absolutely demolish teams. Of course, there are the rogue grass types that could also wall it, or things like Tank Garchomp, but again, all those Pokemon, this team is designed to work around, either abuse, or if you can't do that, have Pokemon that just multiple Pokemon that outright beat it and force it out, which can also come in handy because that gives you a free turn. So yeah, but Zero Aura's Bulk Up set here, none does too well against opposing Zero Aura, but also it's great at taking advantage of those free turns, the surprise value that's there, and it can be a really underrated late game win condition. So I'm all for it here. Heavy Duty Boots is, of course, is an optional item over leftovers. And finally, the 16 defense EVs are there, so you can always live in Adamant. Zamazenta-Crowned, Close Combat from full health. If you're switching in and you don't have a Bulk Up, that's fine. So long as Rocks aren't up, you're always going to be living that Adamant Close Combat. And with Rocks up, you're usually living a Jolly one as well, which is worth noting. So yeah, that's the first team. I think there's a lot of great synergy there. Admittedly, I don't think it perfectly covers all the threats. I don't love how reliant you are on Zamazenta-Crowned, which of course lacks recovery, much like most of these Pokemon, against things like Calm Fable in the long haul, but you can get around it. In addition, swapping into Pokemon like Hawlucha is going to be challenging if there's any chip on Dragonite and or Tapu Fini, so you got to be careful there. And finally, Tapu Koko can be a pretty problematic Pokemon. You do have Zero Aura to knock it off and then take advantage of the Electric Drain, potentially Pokemon its face, but Dazzling Gleam is pretty spammable between Dragonite, Landorus T, and now Zero Aura, so you gotta be careful. Deterring and or dispatching it with Tapu Fini at the right timing can go a long way. And finally, Zamazenta-Crowned can also live multiple hits, and same for Volcarona depending on the scenario as well. So that can come in handy there, but those are just some loose ends that I wanted to tie together, make sure that you knew about as a potential user of the team before moving forward. However, this is not the only thing built. In fact, I came bearing multiple gifts on this fine Saturday, which is probably the afternoon by me by the time I'm uploading this. But yeah, I also wanted to pair Zamazenta-Crowned with some more indirect support, some more finesse, perhaps long-term oriented support, and leave him thinking about the effectiveness of that. So, Zamazenta-Crowned on this team is going to be using a 4 attacking set. Admittedly, I wanted to try a set with Bolt Beam plus Close Combat, so Howl plus Close Combat plus Wild Charge plus Ice Fang, but I needed Behemoth Blast in this team, so it was really weak to Calm Fable, and I noticed that was the way around it. You can consider dropping Ice Fang here for Howl because of that. It would give you the same set as the last team, but I think that is one of the best variants on it, so it wouldn't be anything shocking there. But with that said, there are a number of different variants you could try out in Zamazenta-Crowned. It's really just alternating 1 or 2 moves here and there. So yeah. But this team, it's going to be running 4 attacks, and that is going to seem pretty weak on paper, but when you pair it with lots of longevity with Wish plus Teleport, or Future Sight plus Teleport from Slowbro, all of a sudden, Pokemon like Toxapex, Pokemon like Tangrowth are going to be shitting their you-know-whats, because they aren't able to outlast you, they aren't able to actually check you and wall you. All of a sudden, favorable positions become unfavorable positions in the long haul for the opponents, and that's why the strategy is going to be so effective, especially with something that is really good at forcing the point, forcing their hand, like Zamazenta-Crowned, and I personally am very fond of that dynamic. Admittedly, it hasn't been hard to pull off in games thus far, but I've faced very offensive teams which may be able to suffocate this. So yeah. Anyway, the Teleport core consisting of Slowbro and Clefable are here. They're back and better than ever, perhaps, able to really determine the momentum of the game and set up positioning alleys for things like Zamazenta-Crowned. So that can go such a long way toward breaking through teams, especially with the Future Sight looming ahead there. And with Wish plus Teleport, Clefable, of course, can ensure the HP of just about any teammate going up quite a bit. So yeah, we want to use Garchomp as a stealth rock here. The main reason that I picked this was because Slowbro is a lot less effective against Heatran than Slowking due to the lack of special defense. So moreover, I like Garchomp better against Heatran than something like Landorus T. It's able to wall it and outrun it and obviously take care of it offensively, so that goes a long way there. While I don't love the offensive Garchomp versus Zero Aura matchup, relying on that offensive Garchomp can oftentimes backfire. On this team, it might be okay, as we have a Rocky Helmet Slowbro, we have a Zamazenta-Crowned, which can tank multiple hits, and also we have Wish support, so I actually went with an offensive leftovers Garchomp, just a Swords Dance plus Stealth Rock set. Nothing particularly out of the ordinary there. It serves us as a nice secondary Heatran check. It's able to deal with Zero Aura, and I'm just quite confident in this set, potentially opening the door for something like Zamazenta-Crowned, which is basically what the gist of the team is. Of course, if that doesn't work, you can still get Rocks up, or you could use things like Corviknight to deter opposing hazards and find the right positions, or Specs Dragapult, which is the closer, the speed controller, the absolute face of the metagame right now. And I actually think that Dragapult pairs super nicely with Zamazenta-Crowned in particular. Not only do they have complementary typings, but on top of that, not many things can really wall both, if you think about it. Like, oh, I've got a Dragapult out, I gotta go Blissey or Mandibuzz. U-turn, Zamazenta-Crowned, bam, free turn. Opening those doors, taking possession of where you're at, can go such a long way, especially towards these balanced teams where the sneaky aggressive plays, the ones that get you a couple sequences ahead rather than just 1 or 2 turns ahead, can go such a long way towards dictating your fate or your opponent's fate within those games. So yeah, be careful but also be smart. Take risks but find the right risks. That is how I would sum it up. I hope this helps. Zamazenta-Crowned is definitely a good Pokemon. Admittedly, it's not perfect. I don't think it's broken right now, but I think in this context with this team, it can do pretty well. Just to explain some EVs really quickly, Clefable is always going to be living 2 timid Ice Beams from Kyurem after leftovers, so therefore it doesn't have to protect on a switch or anything like that. That's how the dynamic for Clefable there. Rest is in physical defense. As for the Corviknight, it's always going to be living a couple of Adamant Zamazenta-Crowned attacks after Stealth Rocks plus leftovers here, so it runs the rest in special defense. And finally, when it comes to Slowbro, this investment here made it so that you're always living a couple from Zamazenta-Crowned as well, at least maxing out the odds of doing so for Adamant Zamazenta-Crowned and rest in special defense. It helps with a couple of things, mainly things like Hex on Dragapult or Hurricane on Tornado 2, which are always fun to pivot around if you will. So, yeah, let me know what your thoughts on this team and the other team are. Personally, I prefer the offensive team, but I think both are pretty solid. I'll be sure to include both in the description, but until then, thank you guys so much for the support. I hope you all have a great day and a great weekend. I tried to give as much detail and in-depth analysis on these teams as I could. Admittedly, I was a bit more passionate about the first than the second, but that's neither here nor there. They're still both solid ideas with good foundations and potentially solid teams, so we'll have to wait and see. I'm hoping. I really am, but, you can't really promise anything. Anyway, guys, hope you all have a great day. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and peace out. Later, guys. Talk to you soon.